Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and I was taking a look at some of my questions and comments, and in case some of you people don't see your comments, I just went to my YouTube message page, and I was talking to a friend about this recently, but I had 236 comments under review, and there's only some videos that I have comments held for review, just because of the tone of some of those comments, so that's kind of what I'm dealing with. But I saw some questions all dealing with the same thing, and it reminded me of something that I wanted to talk about and just document for my channel. My channel's about lost history and bringing up questions about our past and what we have been taught today, but they are about what is under the Giza Plateau, and I just want to talk about a couple places here: Campbell's tomb and the tomb of Osiris. And to be perfectly honest, I have not put in the research time on these two subjects that I probably should have. So I'm going to rely on my subscribers and what they know about the underworld, or the chambers and tunnels running beneath the Giza Plateau, and especially these two places here, Campbell's tomb and the tomb of Osiris. I'm going to be relying on you people for some information. But this is Campbell's tomb. This was excavated in 1837. I believe there was a sarcophagus from the 26th dynasty placed down here. And the only question I asked is, were they reusing something and rebuilding something that was already here, a superstructure that was already existing on the Giza Plateau? I think that's a fair question to ask. Let me jump over to a website here. Or first of all, this is that book, Operations Carried On at Giza. And this is the entrance to Campbell's tomb, excavated, built with megalithic, huge, massive, many-ton blocks. You know, back on Google Earth here, only a little bit of this is above ground. But if all the sand was removed, this is what it would look like. It would look a lot more impressive. Maybe they just don't want this shown. But you can see here, you kind of have to tilt your head. But that is made with perfectly built, many ton stone blocks. I think that's a fascinating picture, and that's lost history right there, so I wanted to share that. Now, going over to a website. This is what was found down in Campbell's tomb, and I believe this isn't the bottom of it, based on later excavations. The diagrams done by the same person who excavated the top of it there. Now, let's move over to the tomb of Osiris, and I believe this entrance is located a little farther up the Giza Plateau. I believe up in this area up here. And I believe they are all connected. I think there is a long series of tunnels going down from the Sphinx area up into the pyramids, especially the larger two pyramids. Now, let's read what was excavated in here. A little under 100 years ago, before the Egyptologists took stranglehold of the information coming out of this region, and I think some of this information, it just kind of smells. Something's fishy here. The tomb of Osiris was excavated in 1933-1934 by Dr. Salim Hassan, who noted that the first chamber led to a second, in which there were 7 niches, each containing a basalt sarcophagus, 2 of which were substantially larger than the others. Today, only 2 remain. I guess 5 have just kind of gone missing. Where are they? And they're never talked about. Hassan describes the finding of the opening to the shaft in the 6th season of his work, and went on to report, upon the surface of the causeway, they first built a platform in the shape of a mastaba using stones taken from the ruins of the covered corridor of the causeway. In the center of this superstructure they sank a shaft which passed through the roof and floor of the subway running under the causeway. To a depth of about 9 meters. At the bottom of the shaft is a rectangular chamber, in the floor of the eastern side of which is another shaft. This descends about 14 meters and terminates in a spacious hall surrounded by 7 burial chambers, in each of which is a sarcophagus. 2 of these sarcophagi, which are built of basalt and are monolithic, are so enormous that at first we wondered if they contained the bodies of sacred bulls. And remember, that's what they're thinking down at the Serapeum, down at Saqqara too, something that suggests a much deeper and earlier history. In the eastern side of this hall is yet another shaft, about 10 meters deep, but unfortunately it was flooded. Through the clear water we can see that it ends in a colonnaded hall, also having side chambers containing sarcophagi. We tried in vain to pump out the water, but it seems that a spring must have broken through the rock, for continual daily pumping over a period of 4 years was unable to reduce the water level. I may add that I had this water analyzed, and finding it pure, utilized it for drinking purposes. And that comes from a little under 100 years ago. And he talks about a subway running under the causeway. Now, this is a little later on in that story here. It gives a diagram of what the tomb of Osiris looks like. It looks like there's a place for 7 sarcophagi. In the bottom one here, it seemed water was always a part of this underground tomb. Here is a lid to one of these monolithic chambers. What was this built with? Chisels. Now, this comes from an extract from a work from Zahi Hawass. It says, the channel surrounding the emplacement in the lowest level seems to have been deliberately designed so that the groundwater would fill it, making the emplacement into the center into a sort of an island. This configuration could represent the primeval waters of Nut. And I think that's what exactly we have going on. What does this all mean? Now, if you are familiar with some videos that have come out around Teotihuacan and under the Pyramid of the Moon at Teotihuacan, there seems to be a symbolic river. And the whole story, the whole meaning of that underground complex is creation. And a primeval mound emerging from the water. This is where the tomb of Osiris seems to be placed in symbolic representation in a pyramid on the other side of the world from Teotihuacan. They're telling the same story on opposite sides of the world. Now, just to be clear, what it seems to appear to me is these, Campbell's tomb and the tomb of Osiris, are one and the same complex. And if one of these appears to have things in it that suggest a much earlier antiquity, the whole structure must be of early antiquity. And these blocks appear, maybe, to be megalithic and very, very old. And maybe they just don't want those seen on the Giza Plateau. That's the entrance to Campbell's tomb. We have 7 sarcophagi in the tomb of Osiris under here. What could that possibly represent? And I just think that's fascinating. What was written about a little under 100 years ago. 7 sarcophagi, and it seems 5 of them are missing today, but there appears to be a story of creation, just like the pyramid of Teotihuacan. Now, I want you people to add some information, if you have it, on the tomb of Osiris, and people, maybe Andrew Collins or some other people that have been under here. But I hope you thought this was interesting. I think I'll wrap it up. You all have a very nice day.